Yes, good morning to you. This is Ireland AM. It's March the 5th and we hope you'll spend your Sunday morning with us.
And lucky things now. Coming up on today's show, a recent poll has revealed that 2 years of COVID lockdowns are continuing to affect children's well-being. We'll have that story and everything else making today's papers.
Now, if you've spotted some green and purple lights in the sky recently, don't worry. You're not going mad. We'll be getting a lesson in astronomy to learn how the famous Northern Lights got all the way down to Ireland this week.
We chat to the author whose new novel is breaking every taboo on the subject of menopause.
And she spent 19 years as a TD in Leinster House, but now former Minister Liz McManus has penned a new novel. She'll be here to tell us all about it.
And with an escalating kitten crisis in Ireland, we'll hear from one Dublin-based charity helping to tackle the issue. And of course, they'll be bringing some furry friends with them too.
But will they be leaving with them?
Yes, they will. We're not allowed to kidnap kittens.
No. All right. Anyway, Katia, what else is going on today?
Right, so I have to say, puppies last Sunday and now kittens this Sunday. Like, what a treat. I could get used to this. Good morning, all. Coming up from my end, Love Island twins John and Tony Alberti will be adding some Italian flair to the kitchen. Plus, he's a real showstopper. Bake Off fan favourite Sandro Farmhouse will be chatting to us after 11 and we'll be telling you the top denim trends for spring. Now, Martin, me and Elaine have created denim Saturdays and Sundays, so
really?
if you want to get in on it.
Well, are these kind of
pretty much are denim.
No, they're not, Martin. You really have to get
I'm wearing denim jocks. Is that okay?
Oh, God!
Okay.
That sounds uncomfortable.
Now enjoy our breakfast. Okay. And while you're trying to come to terms with that, let's check on the news you're waking up to today with Cliodhna Russell.
Thanks, Martin. Good morning. UN negotiators have completed an agreement to protect and sustain almost 2/3 of the global ocean. It's understood the deal, made after more than 36 hours of straight negotiations, was the culmination of almost 2 decades of work. The Singapore government, whose ambassador Rena Lee presided over the conference, said she looks forward to an effective implementation of the agreement.
You know, in Singapore, we like to go on learning journeys. Our children don't go on excursions, they go on learning journeys. And I can safely say that this has been the learning journey of a lifetime. So thank you very much, everyone.
Ireland is set to shiver as an Arctic air mass is to bring freezing conditions. Temperatures could fall to as low as -3 in some parts. Well, for more on this, let's go to our reporter, Hannah Murphy, who's live this morning from Met Éireann in Glasnevin. Hannah, it might be dry and cool now. That's not going to last.
Now, Cliodhna, you can see it's pretty settled here this morning at Met Éireann, but there are a cold few days ahead. Met Éireann saying we're likely to see frost, some wintry showers and some possible ice. And that is due to the sudden stratospheric warming that has hit this country that they've been keeping an eye on for the last couple of weeks. And that has the potential to bring some extremely cold weather, so something that they're keeping an eye on. And they say that it also means that there could be chopping and changing forecasts, that the forecasts are pretty uncertain come the midweek, but we do know at this point that it's likely to get very cold over the next few days, beginning from Monday night and continuing on into Tuesday and Wednesday, temperatures dropping to freezing point and even below, especially at night time. Now, it's worth remembering that this sudden stratospheric warming is partly what was to blame for the Beast from the East, if you remember, back in 2018 when we had all that snowfall back then. So something worth keeping an eye on. It is going to get very cold, and it's worth noting as well that in the UK they have some weather warnings in place for ice and some wintry showers for Monday and Tuesday, and that's especially in northeastern parts. So changing forecast over the next few days, something worth keeping an eye on.
Hannah, thank you very much for that. At least 13 people have died in the US in severe winter storms. Millions remain under weather warnings as more weather systems threaten to bring snow, flooding and tornadoes.
Emergency services at the scene where a tree has fallen on a car in Kentucky, killing a woman inside. The winter storm, which has been ravaging through the US, has already claimed several lives. The powerful storm system has produced golf ball-sized hail and a wind gust strong enough to topple trees and damage properties, and it's left more than 1 million people without power. It's the same system that dumped feet of snow across parts of California, prompting the governor there to declare a state of emergency. Residents trapped in Southern California mountain towns are getting desperate for food and supplies as the winter storm pummels the area. These communities have been snowed in for days, with the prospect of the weather clearing up any time soon looking unlikely. The National Weather Service is warning of further torrential rain, tornadoes and heavy snow to come. Maxine Bramley, Virgin Media News.
Intense fighting is continuing in eastern Ukraine. Russia is claiming it's encircled the city of Bakhmut after weeks of intense fighting.
The people of Bakhmut city in eastern Ukraine have endured months of intense fighting with Russian forces. Russia is aiming to claim its first major victory in months in its war on Ukraine. Russia claims to have now almost completely surrounded Bakhmut. Ukrainian armed forces say fierce fighting is continuing in the city centre and on its outskirts. Residents still living on the front line are in dire need of food and shelter as they endure the frequent shelling. There's no electricity, gas or water in the region. This weekend, the President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, says Russia must be held accountable for its invasion. She says a dedicated tribunal is needed to prosecute Russia's crimes of aggression. UN humanitarian staff are reporting intensive hostilities near Bakhmut and says the UN's few humanitarian partners on the ground are focusing on evacuating the most vulnerable people from the conflict area. Marie Mulcahy, Virgin Media News.
Gardaí in Drogheda in County Louth have arrested a man after seizing more than €116,000 worth of drugs. 2 searches were carried out as part of Operation Stratus and Operation Tara, where cannabis and cannabis plants were recovered. The man, aged in his 30s, was taken to Drogheda Garda Station. He has since been released without charge and a file will now be prepared for the DPP. Now let's see how the weather is looking this Sunday morning.
For car insurance, van insurance or home insurance, call the Quote Devil. Unless, of course, you've got money to burn.
This morning will remain cool and cloudy with showers developing across the northern half of the country. Temperatures ranging from 3 to 6 degrees. The afternoon will see continued cloudy skies with a chance for sunny spells to develop. Temperatures will range between 7 and 8 degrees. And tonight we'll see colder conditions and some scattered showers, along with mist and fog forming across the country. Overnight temperatures will range from 2 to 6 degrees.
For first-time drivers, young drivers, returning drivers, if you've had an open claim or have had too many penalty points.
The Quote Devil's always got one hell of a quote. Now let's check on your morning papers, starting with the Sunday Independent. It leads with lockdown still taking a toll on our children. The paper reports that 2/3 of the public believe COVID lockdowns, including the long-term closure of schools, are continuing to affect the well-being and development of children.
The front page of the Business Post goes with Irish phantom exports surged to €134 billion. The paper writes that the number of exported Irish goods that are not produced or physically traded within Ireland has risen 20-fold over the last decade and now accounts for more than 1/3 of all Irish goods traded abroad.
The Sunday Times opens with Kinahan cartel launders millions via film industry. It states that a high-profile financier based in Dubai is suspected of laundering part of the Kinahan cartel's €1 billion fortune through the British and American film industries.
Onto the tabloids, and the headline on the Irish Mirror reads, Chada's prison chance. It writes that Sanjeev Chada has been practising yoga and meditating with a Buddhist monk from behind bars.
The Sunday World opens on the headline, it's Jim Mansfield. The paper discusses businessman Jim Mansfield walking free from Portlaoise prison last Tuesday after serving just 13 months in the prison.
And finally, the Irish Mail on Sunday leads with Parents' Council is unfit for purpose. The paper goes on to say that the state body representing the parents of secondary school children has been deemed unfit for purpose, according to a damning government report raising concerns over how taxpayers' money has been spent.
Now, have you guys heard of BookTok before?
No.
So, hashtag BookTok.
Is this related to TikTok?
This is related to TikTok. So, I'm speaking of BookTok because TikTok have influenced reading habits. So Irish book sales have hit a record high of 170 million, and it hasn't been this high since before the economic crash in 2009.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and it's all like BookTok has contributed to this massively. So basically, you have your hashtag, and it's a world where people are organically creating creating videos about the novels that they are loving, and they're inspiring sales all over. And now Nielsen book data, which monitors for 70% of the Irish market, has said that Colleen Hoover has been the biggest beneficiary of BookTok and this whole sensation, because her novels have been dominating Irish markets. Like, it's absolutely amazing. Marion Keyes flew the Irish flag as well. She has her book again, Rachel, I don't know if you've read it. Yeah. It took third place with overall sales in charts with under 36,000 copies sold. And it's just amazing, because what I've noticed by going on TikTok, you can't advertise there. The algorithm actually rejects any marketing.
Really? I didn't realise that.
Yeah, you put up an ad on TikTok and it'll barely get any views. So this is great, because it's all organic, and you have people that are just, creating their own stories and reviews on this book and really sharing gems. So it's absolutely incredible. Like, the power of TikTok.
Yeah. I tell you what else they're doing. They're also putting a limit on the amount of time that children spend, under 18s spend, on TikTok. And so this is a new thing. It's a screen time limit, and if children want to go beyond, say, their 60 minutes, they've got to get a passcode. And
the parents?
And the parents, at the best of times, will have the passcode.
Is this on their iPhone or on TikTok?
On TikTok.
Okay.
On TikTok. So, of course, there's ways and means to manipulate everything, but the plan is that that's what they will do.
I think adults need a passcode to give it to somebody else. I had to delete TikTok because I went down a rabbit hole and you never get out of it.
Oh, no, and you could spend a long time.
3 hours later, you're still looking at literally dogs playing with kittens, and it's like, why am I still watching this?
I think TikTok has turned into my YouTube, because I was watching a series on Notorious B.I.G. and Lil' Kim's romance, and it was an 18-part series, and I'm like, this is better than any documentary I've ever watched.
I know, but just to give you some figures, right? TikTok has been downloaded 2.6 billion times. 32.5% of all TikTok users are 18 or under. So we're not quite in that age frame yet, so another couple of years and we'll be in to download and go for it. 67% of all American teenagers are using TikTok, and the average user spends about 95 minutes per day, which adds up to 25.7 hours per month on TikTok. Scary, isn't it?
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't think of it like that.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you want to get in touch with us, then 0896 111 111 is the best way to do it.
Or you can also email IrelandAM at virginmedia.ie. I'd love to know if parents are putting a cap on their screen time for their kids, just as in general.
Yeah. Up next, from COVID polls to eviction bans, we chat through the top stories making today's papers. Do stay with us. You're very welcome back. Joining me now with the latest stories making this morning's paper is our account director of DHR Communications and former USI President Fiona Cahill, and presenter of Breakfast Briefing on News Talk. It is Shane Beatty. Thank you both so much for joining us on the show today. Now, first of all, a story in the Sunday Independent, a poll: 2 years of lockdowns are still taking its toll on children's education and development. I suppose no surprises there. A fifth of respondents saying their mental health has deteriorated as well, Shane.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all still suffering with the hangover of COVID. I was only thinking this week, I actually met someone in work. I was introduced to someone and I still had the, is it okay to shake their hand? All because of literally this week on Wednesday, where I went in and I just thought, is it okay to shake their hand or not? So we all have some element of it. What's really worrying, though, is that people are so worried about children. So obviously we had these long periods of school closures for the past couple of years, particularly in 2020 and 2021. And the people themselves, particularly the parents, are worried about the emotional impact on their children, the developmental impact, the educational impact on them. And clearly, 2/3 of people are seeing something in the children that they know that they're worried about, all because of lockdown and because of COVID. And this is a 3-year anniversary this month.
Not an anniversary any of us want to celebrate.
But how long is this going to go on for, is the question.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose there was over 141 days, I think it was, of missed school days for young people during the COVID pandemic, between restrictions and closures and all that kind of stuff. So it's not surprising that about 64% of people who are responding to the poll today were kind of concerned about what are the impacts of that, but not just concerned, they're seeing it. They're seeing it in frustration, low moods, potentially for some of the smaller, younger kids in their communication skills, in their socialisation. I mean, think about it. These kids were, you know, they grew up, a lot of them, with no social interaction. They weren't going to creche, they weren't going to primary school. You know, even interactions with neighbours or to their grannies were through a window. So, like, that has to impact you. And while I think there's been a lot of research around that this is reversible for a lot of young kids, it is having an impact. I mean, think about the screen time. You were talking about TikTok earlier. I mean, we relied on screens to communicate with our families, and now parents are trying to grapple with trying to take those phones and those screens back off kids now as well. So there's certainly an issue with development, and I think the concern is real.
And I suppose across the board, socially, even this week we had the Chief Medical Officer encouraging older people to get back out into the community, that it's safe to do so. And what's been done to the older people during the pandemic has been described as inhumane as well. I mean, and that's another psychological scar.
It is, absolutely is. And I mean, particularly if you think back to nursing homes, where it seemed that everyone was talking about people in nursing homes, but not talking to the people themselves. They weren't able to get their voice out there. It is very interesting that we have to actually have the Chief Medical Officer come out and say, do you know what, everybody, after 3 years of this, it is okay to socialise again, because for so many people, they are still living in fear. I mean, there's still, I think the figure is about 5 to 10% of people are still very, very fearful about COVID. I think that's probably maybe a more worldwide figure, but you will have that lingering fear for an awful lot of people. So it's not just children, it's all age groups. And as we know, this is going to be one of the things that comes up at an inquiry into all of this.
Yeah, and warning is again against revisionism by Paul Reid during the week as well. Also in the Dependent today, the Cabinet is to decide on replacing eviction bans with a 2-year moratorium. Tell us about that, Ciara.
Yeah, I suppose the idea here is that, I mean, we're looking at what could be a cliff edge for a lot of renters towards the end of March if the eviction ban is no more. And so what Cabinet are trying to do is kind of, I suppose, reassure renters in particular, which there are so many thousands of across not just Dublin city centre but across the country, and to say, look, we're looking at other options here. So a moratorium would also protect renters as well, but it's kind of considered a bit of a quid pro quo to landlords. The idea would be that landlords wouldn't kick people out effectively over a notice period immediately after March, and I think that would be like. Threshold are a really well-known charity working in I suppose, landlord-tenant rights and homelessness as well. And John Mark McCafferty has said during the week that a 2-year moratorium is the least worst option facing us at the minute.
The least worst
option when it comes to renters. I mean, you're thinking about people who are in extremely precarious situations, and they're not just in their 20s, they're not just students. These are people whose family homes are in a situation of renting, and after March they feel like they've absolutely no protection. So they're looking at other things like there's something in France which is kind of like a winter pause type of a thing, where over winter months they've agreed, they've put in legislation that they don't evict anybody, landlords don't evict anybody over a certain period. But I do think that renters are going to be really listening out for real action here from government. I mean, we're going to probably talk a little bit more later in relation to the kind of the change in the polls around political parties. What young people and what renters are listening for from the political parties and from the Cabinet is, are we feeling protected in the housing market? Currently we're not, and so we need action, particularly on that moratorium.
So the idea behind what they're looking at is that a landlord, this moratorium means that a landlord couldn't kick you out unless they themselves wanted to live in the property or their children wanted to live in the property. Now, far be it from me to defend landlords, but reading this, it seems like it's becoming less and less and less attractive to become a landlord as well, because really you're looking at the Constitution here, and when you buy a property, you own the property, and we're now just taking away some of the rights of people who own property about what they can do with that property. I can understand why they're doing it. I just wonder, would landlords say, do you know what, it's not worth the hassle, it's not worth the rules and regulations, I barely feel like I own this property or I can do what I want with it, and we might see more leave. And I know sometimes landlords are seen like the vultures or whatever, but there are small landlords out there who have one apartment renting it out, and they might want some more protection. So it is really a vicious circle. It's not working for landlords, it's not working for renters. This is the problem.
The housing crisis isn't working for anyone really at the moment, is it? And on the Business Post today, page 1, car users are being targeted, and this is going to be very popular, isn't it? Tell us about that.
Yes, so I drive in from Naas to Dublin city centre every day.
And you'd be bicycling yourself.
Get on your bike.
This is a great story. Excuse me. So they're looking at congestion charges, like what we see in London. They're looking at putting up fuel prices. They're looking at pedestrianising more urban centres. There's a couple of other measures too. Essentially, this would be the Green Party's baby. This would be to reduce car use. And reading the details on it, there is going to be holy war within government.
Pushing it mildly.
I can imagine rural TDs will be up the walls about this as well. It is obviously to reduce car use, but people are not going to love the idea of sitting on the N7 or the M50 in traffic and then also maybe having to pay a congestion charge to go into the city centre. Could be a tenner each way. We were looking up, is it London is £15 a day?
£15, yeah.
It seems to work quite well for them over there with the cameras up.
Traffic's still a mess there, though.
This is the problem, yeah.
I will say, let's not rush to be dramatic on this one, right?
Okay.
We all recognise that there is an issue that we need to act on. I know that everyone expects this to cause division in Cabinet, but ultimately this policy piece that's being brought to Cabinet by Eamon Ryan and indeed by the Greens is looking at how can we reduce private car use over the next 8 years. So it's not that immediately everything's going to change for people, but we have to accept that behaviours have to change. And I don't think the Green Party necessarily are going around saying we need to pluck the cars from everybody in Longford. I think it's about looking at, I'm from Longford and we love our cars, because ultimately we couldn't possibly, but also couldn't get around Longford without our cars. It's absolutely a requirement. But the requirement for cars in our city centres absolutely could be reduced by much better public transport services. I was going up towards Donegal during the week on the number 30 and I met a woman. It goes through Cavan and up through Monaghan up to Donegal on Bus Éireann. And I met a woman there who said that it had been that same bus route had been cancelled 2 or 3 times in the last month. She was an old age pensioner, very much relied on that to be able to go from Dublin to Donegal. And the fact is that she was in a situation without a car, using her card to use the number 30 and couldn't rely on it. And that's not good enough.
We need to improve the public transport system really if they're going to do anything meaningful about car use.
I would get the bus if I could at the hour I drive up to Dublin, but it's not an option. It's not an option for me.
Also in the Independent today, Ireland Thinks poll. Some very interesting findings in that, Shane. We have Holly Cairns has given a grand old bump to the Social Democrats since she took over. And Sinn Féin are under 30% for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, now look, they'll all say it's only a poll or whatever. I can guarantee you Mary Lou McDonald and Holly Cairns are waking up this morning feeling very, very differently. Mary Lou McDonald might be worried. A little bit of a stagnation in the vote or the support for Sinn Féin. They're under 30% for the first time in a while. It's either staying the same or getting slightly worse in the polls. Holly Cairns, of course, announced as the leader of the Soc Dems this week, and immediately the support is doubled to 9% for the Social Democrats, which is the highest ever, which proves...
A whopping 9%.
Yeah, but it proves 2 things. One, they needed a new leader, and secondly, they absolutely should not get into bed with Labour because they've 3 times the support of Labour. And people will go, oh, look, it's a new leader. If Anna Batchik got in the same time last year, she did not see this increase in support. So it's the Holly mania is what some people are calling it,
I mean, she got into electoral politics 4 years ago, and now she's leader of the Soc Dems. I mean, it is an incredible story, and I think, she's cool, she's young, she's interesting, she's a woman, and I think she's bringing something different into the kind of the leaders' room of the Dáil.
And speaking of the leaders, Micheál Martin is still the most popular leader. Yes,
he is absolutely. Holly Cairns has done well. Her personal approval rating is 43%, but Micheál Martin is 45%. So there we go. You would wonder, would support wane when you go from Taoiseach to Taoiseach, but clearly it hasn't had that impact on him. So it's very, very interesting. As we say, the parties will pretend that there's only one poll that matters, but I think an awful lot will be read into this. There clearly was an appetite for a young female leader like Holly Cairns. You can say that definitely.
And if you look at Jacinda Ardern in New Zealand, that kind of vibe, I suppose, is what we're looking at here, a bit of energy.
Yeah, I mean, you need it. I mean, the old pale, male and stale scenario that we recognise in the Dáil doesn't necessarily represent the rest of us. And so having people like her put their head above the parapet, people who, for instance, like she says, she wasn't interested in political party politics. She didn't think politics was for her until she saw what politics could do and what being part of a party could do. So look, I think it's a call for everybody to get involved more with their local parties, with their independents, whatever's happening, just to be part of that change, because we need more young people and more women in it as well.
Thank you both so much for joining me on the show this morning. See you again shortly. Now, up next, is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's just the Northern Lights above Ireland. We'll be telling you why that happened this week after the break.
Now, if you were wandering home from the pub this week and happened to spot the Northern Lights up in the Irish sky, we promise it wasn't a case of I shouldn't have had that last drink. No, you weren't saying things.
You weren't hallucinating. No. Joining us now to explain how the Northern Lights made it all the way down to Ireland is Astronomy Ireland's David Moore. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show. Now, I was just saying to you earlier, like my sister saw the Northern Lights in Finland. People travel Finland, Norway, Iceland, but to have it in Ireland and to see it in Ireland, it's blown people's minds. It's such a treat. So could you explain what this phenomenon is for people that don't know?
Well, some people say a total eclipse of the sun is the most spectacular sight in nature, and I've been lucky to see a couple of those. And I'll tell you, when the aurora is angry in the polar regions, it dwarfs a total eclipse. And I've been lucky to go to the Arctic Circle 4 times, leading tourists to watch them. It is amazing. But we get that in polar regions about every night. In Ireland, though, we probably only get it 1% of the time, so they're quite rare. So you do really need to travel or watch Astronomy Ireland's predictions. We'll tell you when the next one's happening.
What are we looking at here?
These are pictures I took myself with actually the camera. It's exactly the camera system behind me here. And you can see the green band, which is the first thing you always see. It doesn't look that green to the naked eye. It tends to look greyish, but the cameras bring out the colours. And you can see it's beginning to get active. Some of the rays are coming up out of it. And this is sheets of radiation coming in from the sun, being directed by the Earth's magnetic field. So they always end up out near the North Pole. And then if they get really angry, if it pumps billions of tons of radiation in, which is what happened last weekend, then that aurora spreads out from the polar regions, comes as far south as Ireland. This probably would have been 1,000 miles away, at least the green band. And then the red bands above it, you can see how angry it's getting now as time goes on. These are particles hitting the atmosphere even higher up and causing those lovely red colours. You can get blues as well if you're really lucky.
You say that's 1,000 miles away. So how long does it take to get to us, to get to Ireland, to get to Earth?
Yeah, well, we can predict them. So we can see explosions on the sun. It's 93 million, 150 million miles, 150 million kilometres away. Okay. And it takes the light 8 minutes to get here. So we see the flash. And then the debris, the radiation, takes 2 days. And we now have spacecraft watching for this debris coming, and they can tell us when it's about to arrive. So we knew on the Friday and Saturday, there was a big explosion in the sun aimed at the Earth. And on Sunday afternoon on our social media, we were able to predict there's going to be an aurora tonight. And a lot of people went out and saw it. A lot of people just saw it anyway. It was that obvious. So the distance to the actual aurora is not important compared to the distance of the sun. And things are moving at silly figures in astronomy. 2 million miles an hour is how fast that radiation moves.
It's mad. So hotel prices are not putting the aurora off from coming to us.
No, it'll come anyway, regardless. And we could have another display next week. It could be next year, though,
so
from
it usually
Ireland.
Stays for a period of time? Yeah,
you usually get it for several hours. And in fact, we were very lucky. There was a sort of double explosion on the sun this time. And on Sunday night, there was a great display, and on Monday night there was another display. Now Sunday was great because a lot of the country was clear, but on Monday only the west was clear, and we got dozens of fantastic pictures in, hundreds of all kinds of pictures that'll be going into a special issue of our magazine.
Yeah, but that wasn't the only cosmic surprise, because we could see Venus from Cork, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we were predicting well in advance, months in advance, that the planet Venus and Jupiter would pass close to one another.
Really close to one another, because my wife said to me the other evening, we're sitting down having dinner, she said, they've got to be planets in the skies. And we're looking at Venus now. That's
Venus up close with a spacecraft. So this is when they strip away all the clouds. You can see it's a very volcanic world, we think, and a horrible place to go. It looks lovely and serene in the sky, named after the goddess of beauty. In fact, it's nearly 500 Celsius on the surface. It rains battery acid out of the sky, and it's 95% carbon dioxide, that choking greenhouse gas. So a hell off Earth. Nothing like the beauty it looks like in the sky.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a shot of Jupiter now.
Oh, incredible.
And then another spacecraft picture of Jupiter. You'll see it in a telescope like the one we've got here, like that almost. Maybe not all the fine detail, but I've seen the great red red spot you can see there, a huge swirling hurricane. And Jupiter is 12 times wider than Venus. It looks dimmer in the sky because it's much further away, 4 times further away. And although they were closest last Wednesday and Thursday, they're only slowly pulling apart. So tonight, the next few nights, you'll still see them quite spectacular. There's a picture I took myself.
So from the naked eye, it almost looks like really, really bright stars.
Yeah, the word planet is from Greek, meaning wandering star. And the ancient Greeks noticed all the star patterns stay the same, but these bright ones move around from week to week. And that's a proof of the pudding that they can pass each other. Very rare event. We'll probably only have it every decade or so in evening skies.
And like for kids that might want to stay up, like when's the best time to look out of the window and try to spot these?
There's usually something visible all the time. So the moon is full on Tuesday. It's actually called the warm moon. So you'll have a lovely bright full moon, great in telescopes and binoculars to have a look at that. So as soon as it gets dark, you'll see those 2 planets, if it's clear. And then the moon will be a fantastic sight for the next week. And there's always something happen. The moon is going to pass in front of Venus and Mars later this year. There's going to be an eclipse of the moon in October. So there's always great things to see just with the naked eye. You don't even need a pair of binoculars.
You can also look at skywards. You'll see constellations. You'll see meteor showers. Like you said, there's lots of things
almost
going on.
like Google the patterns to get familiar with them. Is that right? Just for someone that wouldn't know.
These days there are apps on your phone that you can hold them up and they'll actually put the words beside them. It wasn't like that in my day.
So they can tell
a bit harder, Dave.
I glued a star map to huge lumps of cardboard, hung them on the clothesline, and with a torch learned the stars the hard way.
Wow.
Now it's much easier.
An awful lot easier. Anyway, for those who want to, take on astronomy as a hobby, what equipment do they need? How do they begin? Where should they begin?
Well, they always say, and I have to confess, join your National Astronomy Society. We've got a great magazine, Astronomy Ireland magazine, and if there's lots to see with the naked eye, if you just said, but if you want to have a closer look, for about 20 quid these days, you'll get a pair of binoculars like these, 10 by 50s. 10x means they magnify 10 times, 50 is how wide the lenses are at the front. The wider they are, the brighter the image. They make these in large numbers for horse racing, sailing and everything else, so the astronomers piggyback on that and get them really inexpensively. And they're really 2 telescopes side by side.
One of the pictures we were looking at, taken with that camera.
Yeah, this is a fancy camera. You don't need this camera, to be honest. The raw pictures we got sent in to us, some of them were taken with camera phones these days, especially ones that have night mode, where you can get an app that lets them take long exposures. This is a fancy camera. You can change the lens. It's the one I photographed.
We're running out of time, so just quickly onto the telescope.
And if you do want to get a telescope, you go by that diameter, not the magnification. This one's 70 millimetres across. Now it's on a tripod, so you can magnify a bit more and see detail on the planets. And you don't need to go to the monster behind us here, which is thousands of euros.
Let's talk about this big boy here.
But we do bring it out for events to let people look through it. So it's coming out on March 24th for Irish Astronomy Week is coming up then, and there's a huge event in September up in the Wicklow Mountains people can come to.
It's brilliant. Good to see you again, David.
You too, Martin.
Remember, you can learn more about the wonderful world of astronomy from David Moore and his fellow experts on their website, astronomy.ie.
Up next, best-selling author Ciara Geraghty is breaking the taboo on menopause. She joins us right after this break.
Very welcome back to Sunday's Ireland AM. Now, for too many people, menopause is a taboo topic, but our next guest has tackled that stereotype head-on with her new book, Queen Bee.
Yes, best-selling author Ciara Geraghty has never shied away from difficult themes in her books, and she joins us this morning to chat about her latest piece of work. Welcome to the show. It's great to have you on the couch. Now, when it comes to the topic of menopause, I feel like non-fiction books, you could fill a whole library with this topic here, but you've created a fiction book here that people can enjoy and read. Tell us, where did the idea first come from?
I wonder where the idea came from.
Hot flashes and personal sense, I would say.
Yeah, definitely I was going through the menopause. I am going through the menopause. And I'm an avid reader. And I mean, like all readers, I love to spot myself on the pages, and relate to characters. And I just found that as a menopausal woman, there was an absolute dearth of characters, of female characters at my age who were menopausal. And I was like, where are they? Why aren't they on the page? And so then I decided to create my own one, which is called Agatha Doyle. She is, I mean, she's many things. Being menopausal is one of the things that she is. But yeah, as you say, you know, there were no end of fictional or factual books about menopause. But, you know, and they're great, and information is power for menopausal women, and we need to equip ourselves with as much information as we can. But I find with non-fiction books, it's, you know, lists and lists of facts and figures and statistics and everything, whereas I want those facts and figures to be embodied in a character that I can see on the page. And that's when I decided I would create Agatha Doyle.
Because we've had the Bridget Joneses for years and people like that. You pick up any non-fiction any fictitious book where it's dealing with like love, life, all that sort of stuff, and all our female protagonists, they're all kind of the same in one way. You know, they're looking for love in their 30s, blah, 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 blah. So it's actually nice to have someone like that to relate to for the first time, that I think, in a book. So
I absolutely agree, because, you know, we're still here. We still have lives and stories and love and relationships. And I mean, Queen Bee is very much a love story as well, you know, because it is a love story between a married couple. Agatha Doyle and Luke have been married for nearly 25 years. So it's their love story, and it asks the question, you know, about long-term relationships and how you maintain them, and how they also need to be tended to. You know, you can't just say, okay, I've been married for this so many years, you know, we don't have to make an effort, but you always have to work at your relationships, and so it is the love story between those two as well.
And of course it is the love story as well, but normally at that point in one's life you might have empty nest syndrome. Not so much for Agatha.
No.
She's quite the full house.
I am here to debunk the myth about women whinging and weeping over their empty nest syndrome, because, you know, I for one, personally, I have two, you know, technically grown-up children and one teenager still at home. But it's wonderful to see them. You know, my two grown-up children are out in the world doing their thing. They're living independently, and they're lucky and privileged to be able to do that. But it's wonderful to. That's my job. I kind of feel like, look what I did. You know, I put them out in the world, and they're okay. And Agatha, you know, before the novel opens, her two grown-up sons have moved out of the house. They're living their best lives. Her husband is working away in the cafe that he runs, the Full Shilling. She's a writer, and she writes historical fiction, so she's doing that. Everything is going along fine, but when the novel opens, then obviously, you know, things are happening for Agatha. So her two sons have to move back home for various reasons. Her recently widowed father is also living in her house while he gets his house refurbished. He's got, you know, he's kind of met the love of his life, Leonora, and so he is off dancing with her. They're salsa dancing, and he's kind of completely recreated himself. So he's moved in. Her husband's business is kind of failing. The cafe is being invaded by gentrification, and Agatha is menopausal, and also she's suffering from horrific writer's block. So her book is due in 10 weeks, and she hasn't written a word of it, and she's up in the attic every day pretending to write, which, as a person who has done that, believe me, it's awful.
It's like the menopause, just the cherry on top. By the way, if you hear sizzling, there's cooking going on in the background.
There's spicy sausage in the kitchen, I believe.
But I wanted to ask you, because obviously she has this viral social media moment when she goes on an absolute rant about menopause.
I'm not going to do that here today.
Walk away if you want to. I completely empathise.
With the Full House, I mean, you know, people can't really empathise, you can't talk about it, but do you think that is part of the stigma? Like, everyone should be learning about it. You should be able to talk about it with your partner, your children, so they understand you more.
Yes, and communication is the key. And for Agatha, I mean, Agatha's not a great communicator in terms of her emotions, you know, and I think because being a writer really suits her, because she just pours it all onto the page, and then she doesn't really have to deal with it in real life. But you're absolutely right. So she's going through the menopause, but she's not saying anything because it's still shrouded. This was before, you know, Joe Duffy and Liveline in last May, and before Davina McCall, and before all the everyone came out of the woodwork and started talking about it. I was still, you know, writing this, and so Agatha is so for Agatha, the menopause is still shrouded in like secrecy and shame and all those lovely things related to women's sexuality. And so she's just, you know, doing her best to just get on through, just push on through, it'll be fine, like women always do. And but of course, it's not fine. And so what happens is, she gets invited to a literary festival where she is on a panel. She's the only woman and the rest are men. All the questions are being addressed to the men. And so eventually Agatha just stands up. She has had enough and she literally just blows her top and has an absolute rant. And it's recorded, of course, by someone in the audience. It goes viral. And then Agatha becomes the accidental pin-up girl for menopausal women everywhere.
It's not the worst thing to be, really. But it is very important to have these conversations, though, because Katia mentioned the stigma, and there still is. It's like this awful thing. You're a dried-up old prune as soon as you've menopause and you're old and you're past it, which is utterly ridiculous. Every woman goes through it at some point.
Yeah. I mean, 50% of the world is going to go through it. The other 50% are going to be impacted by it. We all need to equip ourselves with information and acceptance and make it, just normalise it, you know? Like, Elaine, when you were saying that, like, some of the most dynamic, creative, productive, hard-working, incredible people I know are menopausal women, you know, and I just think we just need to catch up, because like 100 years ago menopause didn't exist because women lived until they were, you know, the mortality rate was about 50, so it just really wasn't a thing, you know, in the majority. But now, like, we're living really good, vital, vibrant lives well into our 80s, you know? So that's 30-odd years. We need stuff.
And tell us, there's been people coming up to you or even, like, writing to you and telling you how much you've impacted them, and they've had similar stories to Agatha.
I've really had that, and I've noticed it particularly with Queen Bee. People, women obviously, are coming up to me and just saying, thank you. I see myself on the page. Thanks for normalising, and also thanks for making it funny as well. You know, it doesn't have to be...
It can be hilarious.
It can be hilarious.
Unpleasant but hilarious.
And also just to see yourself on the page, you feel seen and you feel understood and you feel not alone, and that's really important.
Ciara's been an absolute delight chatting today. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thank you. And we'll hold this up to make sure you can see this. You can get your hands on a copy of Queen Bee in all major bookshops nationwide. Still to come, Love Island twins John and Tony Alberti will be joining for a taste of Italy in the kitchen.
Plus, former TD turned author Liz McManus will be stopping by. See you after the break. Very welcome back to Ireland AM. I hope you're having a perfect lazy Sunday morning. We'll be hanging out with these little furry friends later on this hour. Your kitten's gone to the loo, so I'm waiting for this one.
That's Josh, by the way. That's Josh. And Josh is really making himself at home here.
Josh is a dote.
You might be climbing into Elaine's bag in about an hour's time. Yes. Still to come, she spent 19 years as a TD representing the Wicklow constituency, and now former Minister Liz McManus has put pen to paper on her latest novel. She'll be telling us all about it.
Plus, dining like a Beckham, we're meeting the woman responsible for tablescaping David Beckham's lunch table in Dublin this week. We'll be showing you how you can copy Becks himself.
And last year he took the world of cakes and sweet treats by storm. Bake Off fan favourite Sandro Farmhouse chats to us after 11.
Now, Kat is over in the kitchen.
Now, you have kittens, but I've just been told that I've got 2 personal tour guides to Tuscany. So there you go. Well,
that's right. That's right.
I feel like I'm in Castlemore today. Love Island and John and Tony Alberti have joined us to prepare a very special culinary surprise. What are you guys cooking in the kitchen today?
Yes, ciao guys. Today we're going to be making our spicy sausage rigatoni. It's super sexy and super delicious, just like we are. You do not want to miss this. Only bringing the best to Ireland.
There you have it, guys.
The modesty is overwhelming.
Humble couple of guys. You may have seen recently that the Beckham clan hit the Guinness Storehouse to celebrate Cruz Beckham's 18th birthday.
Well, on standby to help Posh and Becks create the perfect event was event stylist Grace Cahill and floral designer Heather Condren, who created the perfect tablescape for the Beckhams to enjoy. And here to show us how they did it, guys, welcome to the show. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Good to see you.
It's now, I have to say, with tablescaping, the term, I probably became familiar with it around Christmas time. A lot of people were throwing it around, but I don't know what it is. So what is tablescaping?
I think it's a real old American trend that's really hit off in Ireland, but it's essentially the art of decorating and dressing your table to make it look gorgeous.
Okay.
So
Simple as that.
Yeah, so that could be like at home, like for a birthday, dinner party, Easter celebration, or a more dramatic setting for like a wedding or a brand launch. And that's where Heather comes in.
Okay. So let's go back to last week, all right?
Yeah.
So you're busy at work, phone rings, and it's Beckhams are in town. We need a table dressed for a birthday party. So, did it come about as simple as that?
We weren't told, but I kind of had an idea. I was told an 18th birthday, and just was given a vibe. And so I rang Heather and was like, we'll pull it together. And so, I was told cool and sleek. So kind of just went from there, got a mood board over quickly to her, and she started throwing stuff back to me.
And how did you go about? We have a picture here, absolutely stunning. How did you go about creating it, first of all?
I kind of knew it was going to be a bunch of lads, so I knew that it would have to be less soft and pretty and more masculine. And so Heather came up with the greenery, and then
we just thought like a lot of plants and a lot of greenery as opposed to flowers would just be that bit cooler, do you know?
Oh, okay. When did the penny drop that it was David Beckham and his son Cruz and a load of mates?
Well, I needed to turn around place cards, so I had to get the names. And
David is one thing, but when you saw Cruz, you went, I know what's going on.
Exactly, yeah. So from there we kind of, and we knew it was in the Gravity Bar, so that kind of, I always love to see a venue first because that really directs the colour scheme. And then I went in with the stone black plates, and then that led the rich kind of earthy palette.
And the light there is absolutely gorgeous in the Gravity Bar, isn't it? So show us what you did. Let you work your magic.
Tablescape for us, as you do. I mean, are there rules around it?
I kind of tend to think about it as a canvas, so everything you layer like paint. So if the colours kind of blend together and work in harmony and they enhance each other, that's the start. So I would lead in with the tablecloth, and if the tablecloth has loads of print, I'd normally go for a plainer plate. Or if you want to have fun and you have loads of print in your tablecloth, you could layer on print. So your tablecloth, your plate, and then everything leads from there. Your napkin style, your cutlery. If I'm at home and I'm just doing a tablescape, I'll normally just pot some flowers. But if I'm at an event, I'll normally have a florist on board.
Can you overdo it? Like, for example, you've got your tablecloth. So will people throw stuff at the telly? If I said, could you put a runner on that as well, or is that a mortal sin?
No, it's not. It's just about it working in harmony. I wouldn't normally put a runner on. You can add texture with a runner, but you always want to make sure you have enough room for everything as well.
Space.
With the Beckhams, I kind of had to stay in the room to take stuff away so they could play stuff.
It doesn't look like David eats very much.
But you were saying, like even now, like is it important to have natural elements on the table as well? Like would you add flowers or use plants to this?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean that's where like your vision really comes to life when Heather comes in and
coming in, she's wrecking the place. There's your mother at home watching, and you're wrecking the house. Shocking.
Sorry, I'm too busy talking.
I'll start late.
Why? Sure, why not?
We need to escape the table,
No, but it's great to pick up tips, because like Sunday is a feast day every week, isn't it? That's why we have the big dinner. So, no matter how many you're cooking for, it is nice to kind of set a table.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think St. Patrick's Day will be a big one, and then obviously Easter,
Yeah.
And I think they've even seen this with like the darker plates and the earthy tones. I always think like, oh, white on white. This is nice because it brings a bit of like texture and character to the table, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it's nice because they did ask, for really sleek and cool, and immediately I thought of the plate, so they kind of just led everything. Sorry, Heather. You can just.
Okay.
We'll get you to come around this side so
people see everything that you're doing.
Perfect. Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about plants. Like the appropriately named Heather is looking after the foliage and the flowers.
Yeah.
So, for this party, for the Beckham's party,
yeah,
you brought in what?
So basically, Grace sent me on the mood board, and it was all this gorgeous, lots of wood and lots of, you know, the dark plates and the gold. So I didn't want to take away from that. You want to enhance it. So I kind of always think of the flowers element as the salt and pepper to the table.
Okay.
You know, it's the little bit of seasoning on top. Yeah. So I always go like follow the stylist lead, and then go with there. So we really wanted to bring in more earthy tones. So we went with these like terracotta pots. Mm-hmm. You can pick these up in like your local garden centres and stuff. You know, they're actually really cheap, and they're lovely to have, and they add lovely texture. And then all of this gorgeous. This is all Irish seasonal foliage, which you can get off your florist, or you could pull it from your garden as well. You know, and you can make these lovely.
To pay attention to the season, like, are certain botanics like more suitable for like winter, spring, summer?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think everything is always in better quality when it's in season. So if you can buy seasonally, then you definitely should, you know. And Ireland is so rich. We've such gorgeous foliage. So, like, you know, we've an abundance of it. And you probably have a load of it in your back garden too that you can go out and, you know. So I just think, to me, flowers should be for everyone. And you shouldn't be afraid to, like, play around with greenery and things for your table, because they can really elevate it.
You did actually use some herbs and...
Yeah. Oh, actually, yeah, let me show you this. Yeah, so this is lovely. This is a little plate that we made up. So again, you can pick up your herbs in a garden centre, or like you can get them in local supermarkets and stuff as well now. So you'll see we have some curry leaf here, and we have some mint. And then we just added in some flowering bulbs as well. And so a way that we would elevate this for like a dinner table is if you add moss on top, so you're not looking at soil, and it just finishes it, you know. And then that place in the middle,
that was like the centerpiece almost.
Yeah, and so it adds like a lovely texture to the table, and then obviously a lovely scent and stuff as well, you know. So it's and then you can use it afterwards, so it's sustainable.
Sprinkle that in your soup.
Exactly.
Did you hang around to see if they were enjoying the table and enjoying the party?
No, we left them to it. We had other places to be, you know.
Busting busy girls.
Yeah.
It does look brilliant.
Yeah, and you know, just these little guys. So succulents. A lot of people will have succulents in their house. And I think if you're having people over for dinner, run around your house and grab the little plant elements from other places and bring them to the table, because they just help finish it off then, you know? And then when they're gone, you can pop them back.
Exactly.
I'm taking notes for Easter Sunday.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really...
I'm taking notes for today.
Your Sunday, right?
Great to see you.
Yeah.
I think your mother will be... She's making Heather's making her telly debut today. Okay. Anyway, for more tablescaping advice, you can head over to styledwithgrace.ie. And if you're interested in sprucing up your life with some beautiful floral ideas, head on over to flowerpop.ie.
After the break, a saucy surprise
that we can have on these plates.
That we can have on these plates with a pair of saucy Love Islanders. Stay with us. You're very welcome back. We're joined now by two fellas whose stint on Love Island was so hot, they start steaming up our kitchen. That's right. Chef John and Tony Alberti are with us now. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
They're daring with your white shirts.
Yeah, they've been dangerous lately.
But we're ready for it. So what are you cooking for us today?
So we're going to do our spicy sausage rigatoni. It's one of our favourite go-to dishes. It's really quick and simple to make, spicy as well. So it's going to make it hot in the kitchen and extra hot in the bedroom as well. This is like a natural...
I'm listening.
It's a natural aphrodisiac, and if any guys watching tonight and they want to cook that for their loved ones tonight, they can thank us later.
Darren, we're tuning in, so...
It's a very simple dish. It's easy to make. It's quick, so it's less time in the kitchen, more time in the bedroom. I think that's what you want. That's what you want to do. You want to get that vibe going and get the whole settled night.
I'm taking notes. And the beauty about this one, we're using Tuscan Italian sausages, and being from Tuscany, we're famous for our meat, especially our Italian sausages. And these ones are filled with fennel as well, so it gives that extra flavour and, you know, different herbs.
A lot more herbs in it, fennel, garlic, so it's a lot different. It's very distinctive in the northern region of Italy.
So where do we start with
so first off, you want to take the meat out of the skin of the sausages. You want to put that into the pan with some extra virgin olive oil, break the sausage meat up, and you just want to cook that for around 5 minutes and just until it browns then. Once that's browned off, you just want to go in with some garlic. As much we love garlic, so
lots of garlic, finely chopped, and we're adding the garlic now because obviously if you add it at the beginning, it's going to burn. So you want to just give it a nice little sizzle so it gets a little bit of colour to it.
Then you want to go in with our pepperoncino chili flakes. So these are Italian chili flakes. So you can make it as spicy as you want, little by little.
Less or as hot as you want. It's up to you how you like it.
How do you normally make it?
Hot. Extra,
always hot.
Extra hot.
You know it's going to be hot.
I'm a baby when it comes to spice.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Because
but
in the north of Italy, they don't really like spice as much. It's more down the south of Italy, like Sicily and the lower regions, that they really like the herbs and the spices and stuff like that.
Then once you've cooked that for a few minutes, you just want to add in some tomato puree.
And that's just your normal tomato puree?
Yeah, just your normal one.
Yeah,
exactly, And then you just want to cook that out for a few minutes. Just let that cook out.
You want to let it all infuse together, all the ingredients, make it a nice little sauce together.
That's going to give it its sauce.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And we're making like a pink sauce in. So normally in Italy we have like a tomato-based sauce or a cream one. We do like a little bit of a mix on this one. So once you cook that out, you add in some double cream.
And this is like we're saying, it's like kind of like an American-Italian dish. It's not typically Italian, but it's just very rich with the cream. You're going to get very rich and texture to it.
The double cream, a lot of calories there, but we'll be burning it off later.
Exactly. And like we said, everything in moderation, even moderation itself. We always like in Italy we don't eat big portions of food. It's all small, but like really simple ingredients. Like
the key to Italian food is simplicity. You've got the less ingredients. Actually, it's harder to cook those dishes because you've got to make them speak volumes. You're not throwing everything in. You're concentrating on those little ingredients.
In your traditional Italian meal, there's so many courses as well, so you couldn't have big portions because you eat for hours. You sit down over a meal. It's a celebration, really.
Pasta in Italy is a starter. We're going for the pasta, antipasti. You've got your pasta, then you've got your meats, then you've got your desserts.
Yeah, so you sit down for hours. Like it is like you say, like a big family gathering. You sit there for hours.
And that's what we always say. It's all about family and food for us. You want to eat together, cook together, sit at the dining room together, and sit at the table together.
It's like your bonding time.
It is. That's the perfect thing.
And do you have many family recipes given your roots?
Yes, because obviously we've got our Debbie Cookbook to Fantastico out. There's lots of recipes in there. We use recipes from our nonna that we used to watch growing up when we was kids. Then we've got some like kind of dishes that we've done twists on, like classic English dishes we do Italian twists on. But then we've got Italian dishes that we do little twists on it. Fantastico twists we call it.
Even this recipe is on our blog, our website, thealbertitwins.com, and our YouTube cooking channel as well, Italian Cooking at Home, the Alberti Twins. So you can find all our recipes on there.
So now we've just added Parmesan.
Yeah, so I've just added some basil, just tear the basil up, rip that in and put it in. Then add some Parmesan cheese. You just want to let that simmer like for around 5-10 minutes. So it's really quick and easy dish to
So
make.
you have to keep stirring it, obviously.
Keep an eye on it. Exactly.
You
just want it on a low heat, medium heat, really, on that one. So here's one we had made earlier.
So you can see it's got a nice colour to it. It's different than the normal ragu where it's red and deep red and things like that. It's got a nice pinky orange colour to it. It gives it a lot of texture with the cream. There's a lot of with the sausages and the basil and things that we're going to add in. It's going to give it a lot of very punchy flavour. And we all say like being Italian.
You could really smell the fresh herbs.
That's us. That's our cologne. That's our Italian smell. That's us.
Italian sweat.
Yeah. That's the aftershave.
I wasn't expecting that.
Well, like we all say, like being Italian, it's in our blood to cook. So we've grown up doing things like this, and we're in the kitchen all the time. It is second nature to us, and we enjoy doing it. It's a passion of ours.
Yeah. We always say like in Italian food, you're surrounded, especially at the dining table, you're surrounded by love and family. You're always cooking together and eating together. So it's very similar, being brought up that way, in a big family.
Do you two ever clash in the kitchen?
Always.
We argue
like women.
We've got our best behaviour today. Well, we always argue and fight, on everything. We all have our different opinions on certain things and how you're supposed to do it. But
I might like things a bit spicier than him, so we differ on things like that. But we're
best friends at the end of it.
We argue, then we make up, like two little old women.
From your time in Love Island, though, I mean, did you cook a lot on the actual show as well?
Yeah, so it was a great experience, Love Island. Obviously, we was on the first ever series, the original series. We were the original Italian Stallions. So we was on there, but one of the dates was a cooking task.
Yeah, we had a cook-off against some of the other contestants. We won, obviously. But it was good fun. It was a good experience.
Yeah, it was really amazing show.
What do you think of it now?
I think it's gone even better. It's getting bigger and bigger. I think it's a really good show.
Because we was on the first ever one, so obviously now it's getting bigger.
We set the benchmark. They've not reached that yet. They're getting there. But,
it's nice so that the fan base from there can follow you onto this new venture and everything.
And we always knew when we was going on the show that we wanted to pursue cooking afterwards. We went in there, was cooking on the show, and it was all something, a passion of ours that we knew that we could push on afterwards.
So we've our rigatoni cooked already.
So you always want to cook your pasta in boiling salted water. We all say the salty is a Mediterranean sea, so it's going to flavour the pasta a little bit, and you can use some of that pasta water as well to help with the sauce.
You want to cook it to al dente, so we say that to the tooth, to the bite, so it's got like a nice little bite to it.
And you're going to finish cooking off your pasta in here anyway, so you don't always want to cook it full. So that's why I always say al dente, so not fully cooked, so it's a bit got a bite to it, and then you finish it off in the sauce.
Because nobody wants soggy pasta.
Does it matter if you're draining it, or you can use that spoon?
Yeah, you can use that. You need some of the pasta water anyway,
not too much because it'll loosen it, and you want the sauce to be quite thick, so you don't want too much of the pasta water, but it's obviously it helps emulsify it as well.
Because you don't want it getting dry and tacky at all.
Exactly, You don't want anything dry and tacky.
It's actually such a simple recipe when you think about it. And the few ingredients, and it looks delicious, and the flavours are just...
You always want to go in. We love Parmesan cheese.
More cheese, Can never have too much cheese.
In the sauce, we're going to finish with it. That's the way it is in Italy.
But we already agreed we're having a naughty day because we're getting pizza later.
Yeah.
So might as well have
Italian day
pasta for breakfast.
Pasta for breakfast, pizza for dinner. What's not to love?
Exactly,
So, like, again, we say, like, simple ingredients, strong ingredients, powerful ingredients that are going to speak volumes, and the flavour is so big and powerful. So you don't need much, and a lot of Italian recipes are very simple to make. People think they're very hard to do, but that's the beauty about Italian food. It's easy to make.
All right, we're ready to
Are
you ready to try?
Ready to rock and roll. No pressure, guys. We were expecting quite a lot. Quite a lot from this. You've been talking about it all morning.
Best meal you ever had. Ever.
I'll give that to
if you just want to finish some cheese on this one.
Yep, I'll be the Parmigiano topper.
Ready?
So what are your favourite dishes for Italian dishes?
What's your go-to?
I love a seafood linguine.
Oh, seafood?
I like my vongoles, my spaghetti alle vongole. You know the clams?
Okay. Yeah, with the clams.
I love that. A bit of spice, bit of chilli to it.
Here we go.
A bit of cheese on that.
You do the honours.
So like we always say, super simple, super sexy, just like we are.
I love the gas line.
There's a mouthful there.
Sausage is great, lads. I'm loving it.
We've been told before. We get it a lot.
10 out of 10 sausage.
Buon appetito.
Yeah, buon appetito.
Well, the full recipe details are up on our website, or you can find more recipes from the boys on their website, thealbertitwins.com.
How do we top that? Up next, after leaving politics over 10 years ago, former TD Liz McManus is stopping by to chat to us. God love her, after this short break. You're very welcome back. Our next guest is a well-known face of the Irish political landscape after spending 19 years as a TD and 3 years as a minister in the Dáil Chamber.
Now Liz McManus has penned her second novel and she joins us in studio. Good morning to you, Liz. Nice to see you.
Good morning.
Okay. Good morning. Now we'll talk politics first before we talk about the book. So, like, out of the game since 2011, but what got you into politics in the first place?
Well, it was very simple. I wanted to change the world. It was also because people tended to say, because I was always mouthing off about something particularly relating to women, why don't you stand for politics? And of course, eventually you run out of excuses. And I did stand, and I won a local seat in the local council, and that was a great apprenticeship. It was actually getting into Dáil Éireann was kind of a pleasant surprise after Wicklow County Council. It's a bit of a bear pit, but it's good training. And I got elected in '92, and you know, there were a number of women got elected that year, extra women. Before that, it had been very small numbers. So I think it's very important that women are elected.
Yeah.
I think politics needs women. And, you know, I wish everybody well who's in that position of thinking about it.
Do you think it does seem to be getting any better, though? Like, when you were elected originally, and I remember when I was covering the Dáil back in my reporter days many, many moons ago, it was almost a rarity, really, to have women sitting, whatever about sitting TD, ministers and in higher positions.
Absolutely.
And how difficult it was to... Because you probably had to work 10 times harder than any man in politics.
I'm not sure about that. I think it was just there were so few of us. And the idea that you had to have a balance of some sort, even just a token woman, was very new. But it wasn't... funny enough, I think within Dáil Éireann, I didn't experience much sexism. Certainly less than there would have been outside, because the great thing is you had a mandate. It didn't matter who you were. You had the mandate to be there. And as you can see, it's kind of a motley crew gets elected. But every
you said
one
it
of
now,
them,
not us.
Every one of them has a mandate.
You said it. Yeah. But you stepped away in 2011, your own choice.
Yes.
Why did you decide that it was time to leave the chamber?
Because I got old. I was 64. And I just felt,
you know,
this is for
young. 64-year-olds watching us saying, I don't feel old.
Well, I don't feel old, but I do feel that, well, I suppose I just had a personal view that I never wanted to be a TD with a free travel pass.
Right.
That was the mark. That was the cut-off point.
Okay.
It is better that younger people come through. fitter people, more energetic people come through, it saps a lot of your energy, and it was time for me to go.
It consumes your whole life, really, doesn't it? I think people don't understand the actual amount of work that a TD does.
Yeah, it's very time consuming. And I keep saying to people, keep space for yourself.
Yeah.
Don't let it take you over completely.
And pursue the loves of your life, one which is writing. So tell us how all that came about.
Well, by the way, it's my third
novel. I did think that just as I was reading that line, I thought this is the third book that Liz has done.
The first one was a long time ago, before I got elected, so it's very ancient. I have always wanted to write, and this particular book, though, is the most personal of anything I've written, certainly that I can think of, because it's written about my grandparents. It's called When Things Come to Light, which really expresses what my experience has been, because I never knew my grandparents. Before I was born, there was a family quarrel. My mother and my grandmother both had pretty strong views, and they clashed. And unfortunately, it meant that there was a rupture in the family that was never healed. And I felt when I became a grandmother that it was very unnatural for grandparents not to know their grandchildren, and vice versa. It's a wonderful experience. And it made me question, why was it I never knew my grandparents? And my other grandparents were dead. And the reason was that my grandparents were Unitarian, they're liberals, they're free thinkers. At the time that my mother was asked, or my father asked my mother to marry him, there was a decree by the Catholic Church called Ne Temere, which was terribly destructive to Catholic-Protestant relations, because it insisted that if you were a Protestant marrying a Catholic, you had to swear that the children would be reared as Catholics. It was actually in its own way a form of ethnic cleansing. And my grandmother, who was so liberal in her views, she didn't even have her children baptised. She said, when you're grown up, you'd make your own decisions. But this idea of forcing a child into a religion was anathema. So it caused a terrible row. But my mother wasn't going to be stopped by anybody.
Okay.
And they got married, and we were reared as Catholics. Now, I have to say, the three girls, none of us are practicing Catholics now. We kind of drifted away. But it was a barrier to me understanding a lot about myself. You know, why was I interested in politics? My parents weren't interested in politics. What made me kind of thirst for justice? So I began to explore what Unitarianism, particularly because my grandparents were Unitarian, what it was all about. And they really, they are free thinkers, they're very liberal, but they grow out of the sort of principles of, you know, liberty, equality, fraternity. And I kind of like that, and I identify with that. My aunt died in England, and she left a lot of family papers, which were, you know, a hodgepodge of stuff, you know, letters, but very fascinating, particularly when you're personally engaged. And I started to use the material she'd given me to write the book. Now, it's a novel, but it's based a lot on fact. And the facts were very simple. My grandparents met in Dublin. They went out to India as a young couple. He was a tea expert. And they lived in India for quite a number of years. And they were both Republican, nationalist. She particularly, Margaret, my grandmother, was very passionate about Irish independence. But when they came back to the new Ireland, the independent Ireland, the Free State, it didn't take long for her to realise this isn't a real republic at all.
We have progressed quite a lot. People don't seem to realise that it wasn't this utopia for women, particularly, that we had hoped.
That's right.
The Catholic Church had such a grip in a negative manner.
Such a grip, absolutely. And I mean, sometimes I kind of have to catch my breath, you know. How could these things happen? You know, whether it was dealing with children or dealing with women. You know, it's only in the 60s with the women's liberation movement starting to question everything that related to women, that you begin to appreciate how oppressive the society was.
Comely maidens dancing at the crossroads, a Devilerian idea.
Well, total idealism, but meanwhile, the people in rural Ireland were leaving in their droves because they couldn't get work.
Look, I remember my mother marrying, and she married at a time when a girl married, she left her job to make room for the next single girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, in the public service in Britain, they had this law which they got rid of, I think, in 1944 or 45. In Ireland, it took to the 70s before that was done away with.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just... Ireland is so much better place now because of what people did, because the women's movement, you know, civil rights, all those kind of movements that grew from the ground up.
Just very quickly, like when Margaret came back to Ireland and realised the Ireland she was in was not the Ireland that she had hoped to return to. Bearing in mind the difficulties that went on, did she rebel against that, or did she have to conform?
Well, there was a great... My aunt told me this story. They went to the Unitarian Church one Sunday, and they were at the service, but it happened to be Remembrance Sunday. This was after, in the 20s, late 20s. And the organist struck up God Save the King. And Margaret wasn't having this at all. So she stood up, told her daughters to get out of the pew, walked up the aisle and said, I'm leaving this church now and I'm going to have strong words with the minister when I get a chance.
That was the end of that.
And that was the end of that.
We could talk to you all day, I swear to God. I'd love to pick your brains, but unfortunately we're after running out of time. Just a reminder, of course, that Liz's new book, When Things Come to Light, is out right now.
Coming up, we'll be hearing from one organisation that says Ireland is experiencing an escalating kitten crisis. We'll see you for that after the break.
You're very welcome back to Ireland AM. Ireland is in the midst of an escalating kitten crisis, according to one Dublin-based charity.
People are being urged to know the do's and don'ts when bringing a kitten into your home. To tell us more, Carmel Rooney, Director of the Dog and Cat Protection Association of Ireland, is here. Good to see you, Carmel.
Thank you.
How bad is the kitten crisis?
Well, it's pretty bad. It seems to be getting worse every year. I've been with the Cat and Dog Protection for the last 4 years, and each year the calls are getting more and more. I think it's a multitude of reasons creating this. We have, in Ireland, a high number of feral cats. And then we also have... I guess lack of knowledge in some pet owners. They don't realise that female cats can go into heat starting around 4 to 6 months. And then also vet prices, unfortunately, since COVID, have gone up quite a bit. And so we've been quoted that a female cat can cost up to 160.
Ouch.
Yeah.
When you're trying to pay a big energy bill,
I know,
a big utility bill, and then you're faced with that, you've got a choice to make, and unfortunately the staying of the cat gets put on the back burner.
Exactly.
And you know, like, I suppose everyone kind of has a neighbourhood cat that we see on the roof, on their window ledge, and I know with outdoor cats, it's kind of in their nature to wander a little bit, but, you know, maybe some might wander a little bit too far. Do you think that contributes to this crisis as well?
Absolutely, definitely. We advise people that if you're feeding a cat or you see a stray cat, specifically with 2 pointed ears, then that means more than likely the cat is not spayed or neutered, because when we trap cats and we spay them or neuter them, they will, while they're asleep under anaesthesia, their 2 pointed ears, one of the ears gets just an ear tip. It's just a surgical little cut, so the point
So we're not talking Van Gogh here, we're just talking about a little ear tip.
So the point of an ear tip is gone, or the point of the ear is gone, and so that's a universal sign to say, I am a neutered cat. And so definitely contact your local rescue and ask if they are practicing, you know, the trap, neuter, return program, which is where they'll trap a cat, they'll neuter it, and then they'll return it with the ear tip, and then we all know then that cat has been neutered.
So even looking at the lovely, gorgeous kittens you have here today, my guess is they're not neutered because their ears are pointed.
We'd only do that for feral cats that are going outside. These kitties will get adopted, and they will be, you know, microchipped. They will wear collars, maybe.
Can I ask, have these kittens been handed in to you?
No, we had to go out. The little orange guy...
Josh, who we met at the top
we
of the
had
hour.
to go up to Ashburn to get him. We did. And then these three, I think they were... somewhere, I think Balbriggan, I want to say, we went for them. So we cover all over.
The reason they're in the cage is because we have a very large studio, and if they decided to wander, it may take a while for us to get them back.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, they're just delightful. I've been staring at them all morning. Tell us, the Cat Dog Protection Association, tell us a little bit about the organisation and the work you do there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what we've been doing for a number of years is we have one employee that is out Monday through Friday, and we have a van with traps, and he is out trapping morning, noon and night, basically, and we do a large volume of trapping, which is the root issue, you know, to try and get the numbers down of the unwanted kittens being born. We do also education, and then also people call us saying that they can't afford the spay or neuter, so we'll help them with helping to pay. And then also I'm also a director of the ISPCA, and the ISPCA have recently formed a cat welfare group. We meet on a monthly basis to discuss the kitten crisis and what the things we can do. And so the ISPCA now is purchasing traps to bring in to enable the affiliated members to be able to trap more, and then also issuing spay and neuter spay and neuter vouchers so that they can be more affordable to spay and neuter cats.
You're talking about rising vet costs. So
yes.
Is the bulk of your fundraising going on spaying and neutering?
100%. Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, absolutely. As far as funding goes, last year we went over 200,000 in 1 year.
Okay.
And during kitten season, it's an average of 25 to 30,000 a month. And so that is not sustainable. Like, we're a very small charity. We just don't have that funds. So we're always looking for volunteers to help. And hopefully we'll be able to get like a marketing manager or something to be able to help get us out there and get donations in so that we can keep this. But we were very lucky with Maxi Zoo as well. They have a program called Connect Friends, and they gave us a big check of 32,000 this year. But that gives us the ability to spay and neuter 500 cats.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot more than that being born.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So if you're thinking of taking a kitten into your home,
yes.
What are the top tips?
The big thing is to be aware that they live at least, on average 15, 16 years. They're going to need routine medical treatments such as worming, vaccines. They may need a dental in a few years. And then also consider their lifestyle. Some kittens are more active than others. So make sure that you've got the space. And then if you're thinking of letting your cat outside, if you belong or live close to a busy road, that's not a good idea because cats could run out, and there's high risk of getting them, get knocked down.
Okay.
Well, I know, we have to, wrap soon, but about the dogs as well, because I know a lot of them have been rehomed since Christmas time, and is the crisis just as bad?
It's not as bad, but it's heartbreaking. We do get a lot of calls with owner surrenders. Actually, we peaked at the beginning of December. We had 17 people call in 1 week asking to surrender their dog right before Christmas. So it's quite challenging.
Okay. Listen, thank you for bringing these gorgeous kittens in to see us today.
And raising the awareness of the issue as well.
Yes, if you see a cat, just call and we'll get out there and spay and neuter.
But we'll have some information. If you would like some more information about the work Carmel and her team do, you can visit cdpa.ie.
Still to come, Great British Bake Off runner-up Sandro Farmhouse will be joining us after this break.
See you after this.
Water. Water. As they might, there's no dessert on earth that can beat a classic, well-baked cheesecake.
That's right. Krissy Gibson from Take the Cake joins us now to show us exactly how it should be done. Good morning, Krissi.
Good morning.
It's great to have you here. Now, I heard this is your great-grandmother's recipe?
Yeah, this is my nanny's cheesecake, and it's the one I grew up with. And it's my fave. I always asked for this for my birthday when I was growing up.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've been eating this a long time, and I've been baking this particular cheesecake for 40 years, lads.
So you've recreated it to perfection, pretty much. You've got
no.
No.
Put the pressure on.
I haven't changed a thing.
But you know what? The classics are just the best, aren't they?
I don't change a thing. Yeah, I don't add anything to it. This is a classic vanilla cheesecake, and I will tell you, start with a nice cream cheese.
Okay.
I have tried every cream cheese out there, and cream cheese, they are not created equal. You've got to buy the premium one on the shelf, even though it's twice as much. Get it, because there's a huge difference.
The end results.
So what
this is 280 grams of full-fat cream cheese. I'm adding an egg and an egg yolk, okay? And the reason why I'm not adding just 2 full eggs is because we want a really dense filling. In fact, use an electric hand mixer, but mix it on low. Okay. All right. And actually, you can add the sugar to this first. You can add the egg to it first. It doesn't really matter what order you add these in. Yeah. Okay. We're going to add 100 grams of sugar to that.
Is that regular sugar or is it castor sugar?
It's castor sugar. You can also use granulated sugar. It doesn't really matter. I tend to use castor sugar. But once these ingredients are mixed up, stop mixing. We don't want to put too much air into it. I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract, which is about 10 milliliters, okay? There's 5, there's 10.
How did you know?
It's just you can eyeball it
I do
at
it
this
a lot.
stage. Yeah.
I'm constantly baking. So now we've got our filling. We're just gonna let that set aside, and if you want to get yourself a digestive biscuit crust ready-made from the store, you can. I just don't recommend it because yours will always be better, okay? Let's start with 200 grams of digestive biscuit crumbs, all right? Add 100 grams of melted butter and 65 grams of sugar. Again, you can use castor sugar or granulated sugar.
And the fun part is smashing up those biscuits.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Kids love helping with this part.
Yeah.
They love helping. Here's just a pinch of cinnamon. The cinnamon is not required, but a touch of cinnamon in your digestive crust is lovely. Now, a lot of Irish homes have tart pans. We love our tarts here, don't we? Now, I make American pies, and one of the differences between a tart and a pie is the depth of the pan. Now, our tart pans are about 1 inch deep. Okay, so these would be tart pans, and you're used to seeing these. Yeah. Okay. These are 1 inch deep. They're not they're not too big. Yeah. But a pie pan is 1 3/4 inches deep. I do have American pies on my menu, so I import my pans because I can't find these anywhere. Do you see how this is deeper?
Yeah.
So there's more to them. There's a lot more eating in a slice of pie than there is in a slice of tart.
So would you need more space is it for the filling or the biscuit base?
Well, it's for the filling.
For the filling.
Yeah,
okay.
I mean, you do have your base in there, but a pie is just a deeper dessert. Okay. Okay. You might remember the pie we had last time I was here. You know, that was about that high. Yeah. You know, so we've just mixed our ingredients together.
The sensual pie.
It was, wasn't it?
Sensual pie.
Hope it went well for you when you got home.
Well, there will be a movie.
So now I've got my ingredients for the digestive biscuit crust in my pan, and I'm just going to press it in, okay? And we don't want it too loose because then it'll just fall apart when we slice it, okay? Now, you can, if you want to make this first, you can, and just set it in the fridge to chill for a few minutes, or you can make that after you've made your filling.
How many pairs of clothes have you put on?
I know. This is my little trick because I don't like to take the time to wash my hands. It's all about time management, Martin.
Great idea.
Time management. So we've got our filling, don't we? Yeah. We are going to fill our pie, and by the way, try to get it a little smoother than I did. You don't want any chunks of cream cheese. The best way to avoid that is by using room temperature ingredients, okay? So room temperature cream cheese, leave it out of the fridge for a couple of hours before you use it, okay? We're gonna pop that in the oven at 140. That's a low temperature. We're gonna bake that for 35 minutes, okay? And when we take it out, we're not done with it. We're going to add a cream cheese topping. And You'll taste this in a minute and you'll see why this is my favorite part.
So we don't need to leave that to cool.
No.
I don't know why in my head I thought it had to go in the fridge, but it's like you're cooking. Is it the filling that you're kind of cooking?
Yeah, you're baking the filling, you're baking the crust. We don't have to blind bake the crust before we bake the filling. We're pouring the filling into a raw crust. Now, this is the last part. Okay, we're gonna add just a little bit of sugar to a container of sour cream. Okay, all the measurements are on your website. I've got everything there for the recipe. Just a teaspoon of vanilla this time, 5 mils, and use a whisk or just a spoon. It doesn't really matter. You want to whisk this up, mix it up until it's nice and smooth. We're gonna add this to the top of our pie. Now, once upon a time, I think I was distracted. I was talking to somebody, and I just poured the whole thing on top. And do you know what happened? I got this big. It was you know exactly what happened. So don't do that. Yeah. You want to pour, kind of spread it on nice and evenly, but do use it all. And this is where that deeper pie pan kind of comes in handy. If you don't have a deeper pie pan at home, you only have a tart pan, that is okay. Just use the larger size.
Okay.
And you'll have to adjust your baking times. You'll actually need to reduce it by about 5 minutes because it won't be as deep.
Now, I know so we've got a classic one here, but with I'm just staring at the finished one now. You've got raspberry decorated on top, but would you recommend other flavours for people at home to try with their cheesecake with this kind of recipe?
Do you know something? In 40 years, the first time I made this cheesecake, I was 12 years old. Okay. And in 40 years,
get that into you, Cynthia.
I have never, ever changed a thing about this recipe. Now, I have made lemon cheesecakes before. I've made Bailey's cheesecakes. I've made chocolate cheesecakes. I've never used this recipe for it. This one, I like it just the way it is. I leave it just the way it is. Use this one for your vanilla cheesecake.
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
If it's not broke, don't fix it. This is definitely one of those situations.
Don't ruin Nanny's recipe.
So tell me, what do you think of that?
So
delicious.
Good.
And oh yeah.
You were right about buying the premium cream cheese.
There is no comparison.
Spoil yourself. You've earned it. Krissi,
exactly.
Amazing.
Thank you so much, Krissi. Well, full recipe details are up on our website, or you can find more from Krissi at her website, takethecake.ie.
Sandro from Bake Off. I wonder what he would make of this. Anyway, he's been watching us online. We'll see if he's picked up any tips from Krissi after this quick break.
You're very welcome back. Our next guest was a runner-up in last year's Great British Bake Off, but he was certainly a winner when it came to the viewers' hearts.
Yes, the hunk of Bake Off, Sandro Farmhouse, joins us now. Good morning to you, Sandro. Good to see you, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning.
What did you think of the cheesecake?
Oh, it looked so delicious. I was like, yeah, I like it like that. Real deep. So there's a lot of cream cheese filling and then that nice crust. Oh, yum.
It was the business. We're going to package up a slice and send it to you.
Yes, please.
Listen, we loved you on Bake Off. We really, really did. But going in, did you see yourself making the final, or was it a complete surprise to you?
Oh, I absolutely saw myself making the finals, if I'm honest. I almost manifested it. I visualised it, and I didn't really see myself in the show. I only saw myself in the finals, so it only became real for me then.
All right.
Oh my God. And when you look back at it, what was the actual application process like, and how did you go about entering Bake Off in the first place?
Application process is pretty smooth. There's a lot that goes on. So you get phone calls, you get to do video calls, you get to meet the production team in person. You get to do a little recording to get a taste of what it will be like. It's pretty smooth, but pretty intense, and there's a lot of waiting. You've got to be really patient, but it's well worth it.
I've spoken to a lot of footballers down through the years, and they've said that they make a cup final, and it's something they've always dreamed of. But they walk onto the Wembley pitch, and it's one of those moments where they get stopped in their tracks and they kind of take a breath. For bakers, is it like that when you go into the tent for the first time?
Oh my God! To see the tent for the first time was like, what am I really here? First of all, the place looks like a Teletubby place. Just loads of green hills everywhere. And then, yeah, it's just amazing. Like, to see the tent in person, it's like, wow, it's real. It's the real tent.
Now, it does seem to be particularly warm in that tent from time to time. I feel terribly sorry for all of you trying to actually bake and make things actually stay in one piece. What is the pressure like when you're actually going through the process?
Oh gosh, well, luckily this year, for the year that I was in, it was freezing cold. So actually it wasn't hot at all. We was finding it really hard to stay warm or to get warm actually. But to be in there with the pressure, for myself, I really enjoy the pressure. I work really well under pressure. Yeah, I liked it when they came and spoke to us when we're like in a disastrous moment and like having the worst time ever and making a bake, and they come and speak to us to add extra pressure. I kind of enjoyed it. It kind of broke the pressure for me when Matt or Noel came and spoke to me.
It's what makes great telly, Sandro.
Exactly.
We want to see you under pressure. Okay. Listen, what was it that made you fall in love with baking in the first place?
So my mum always baked at home, always baked a simple cakes you want to have with tea and coffee and stuff like that. I would always want to lick the batter off the spoon. So that's when the love of baking sort of began. And then my dad passed away and baking became therapy for me. And yeah, ever since then, it's the thing that it's like second nature to me. I have to do it on a daily.
Right, okay.
A lot of people say it's very, very therapeutic, actually.
Yeah.
It is very therapeutic, and even down to sensory baking, which is what I like to call it. I don't like to use machines a lot. I prefer to use my hands. That's when it gets really therapeutic. Put all my feelings into my bakes.
Yeah, I know you've got to be exact because it is a science. You can muck around with dinners, but baking, no. You need to be on the money when it comes to that. Yeah. So you say you like to use your hands, but is there particular kitchen equipment that you just can't do without?
There's something about a silicone spatula for me.
Right.
It's just get all around in the bowl, and I just love it. I can't do without one.
Yeah. And out of all the people that you did Bake Off with, though, I mean, who would be your buddies? Who do you still hang around with?
Oh, okay. So the whole group is amazing anyway, and we all keep in touch for our group chat. But I'm really good friends with Maxie and Rebs. They're my little sweethearts. And I stay in touch a lot with Janusz as well.
Yeah, I'd love to see that group WhatsApp. It's quite amusing, the stories, all the behind-the-scenes stories you probably have that, of course, you can't share with us now. But when it comes to baking for the rich and famous, you did that ever before Bake Off, didn't you?
Yes, luckily I was able to make amazing cakes for Little Mix members and Stormzy and some footballers. It was just a blessing for me. Like, it's like, wow, I can't believe I'm making a cake for this person. Super cool.
That is cool. If you're making cakes for Stormzy and Little Mix, of course, yeah. That would entice somebody watching us right now to want to maybe take up a career in baking. I was thinking of children who might be watching us.
Absolutely.
What would be your advice to them?
I think that in culinary and baking, there's so much opportunities, and yeah, people should explore it more. There's a lot of, you can employment opportunities, but you can also be happy doing something you love doing. And baking is such a great way of living and working. So, yeah.
And you're also involved in something very close to your heart. You're an ambassador for the National Autistic Society in the UK. Tell me about your involvement in that.
So I've just recently joined as an ambassador, and we are currently working on our relationship and what they're going to need from me and what I can do to help the community. At the moment, we have the WOW is going on at the moment, which is World Awareness of Autism, and I can't remember the other W, so I won't say it in case I'm wrong. But I've got a real big passion for autism and autistic people and the autistic community, and wanting to help them, the awareness, to help them grow, help them have equal opportunities, and help young people with autism to live an independent life as much as possible. So it's always been a passion of mine, and I just love the fact that I'm an ambassador for the NAS.
You also did a workshop, didn't you? Baking on the Spectrum, I think it was called.
Yeah, so Baking on the Spectrum is my own little organisation that I built over the pandemic as a response to the pandemic for families with autism. It was just a rapid response to help out at home, but it became such a big demand that I just continued to work. And now we're about to do a relaunch of the programme, so we can go from 100 families to hopefully 1,000 families across the UK.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And you're also going to be gracing our TV screens again soon because you'll be on Lorraine and ITV. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so 2 episodes already came out on Lorraine, so we've got another 2 to go, and it was amazing. I love Lorraine and the show, and yeah, it's super cool to actually be back on telly, baking, doing what I love doing, and yeah, the recipes are really cool as well. You must give them a try.
Keep that in mind.
Well, after Bake Off and the great success that you had there, Sandro, we can only imagine that if another reality show came along and knocked on your door, you'd take it. So might we see you in the jungle or on a dance floor?
Oh, my God. All right, so I'd love to do jungle. I'm not ready yet, because I need to yeah. But strictly, if they call me, it's a yes from me. I will be there with my dancing boots and I'll put my baking gloves away.
Yeah, no, you'll bring cake. They love it if you bring cake.
That was a great bribe.
I'll bring cake if that gets me in.
Sandro, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. It's been lovely talking to you.
All right.
Now, coming up, we're over the catwalk with the hottest autumnal denim trends, even spring ones, I suppose.
OK, we'll see you back here for that in a few minutes.
You're very welcome back. Styles change, but one thing that generally doesn't ever go out of fashion is a good pair of jeans.
But what's hot for spring, summer? Stylist Laura Jordan joins us now. It's all about the denim. You're double deniming yourself today.
I am indeed. And the Canadian tuxedos, Kelly was saying. You're ready to go. All about, I love denim. It's one of my favourite fabrics to wear and to style. So I'm excited to have a look at the different options we have for spring, summer, and indeed, most importantly, how to wear and why to wear.
Because so first of all, we're going with flares.
We are. So we had boot cut last season. We're into flares this season. Again, as I'll say for all the jeans here, you wear what you like, you wear what you love. If you want to dabble in a different shape and size, this is the options that we have. So when we look at a flare, we're talking about balancing the proportions. So it's really, really good for if you want to balance hips or pear shape, etc. So these pair here are in the darker indigo wash. They have no whiskers, which is what I like. There is no bleaching on them. There is no lines. So the whiskers are lined out from the thighs, which can sometimes make us bigger than we would like. So really simple uniform with the yellow stitching through it. The classic pair of jeans, very flattering. These are $39.95 from On Trend, available online. And the cardigan, which we've paired them with, is available from there also. You can do a little tuck if you want. This is kind of cropped. We want to make sure that you can see the length of the leg. And when we have a flare, we like, if possible, to pair it with a little bit of height. Otherwise, if you've got height on your side already, you're set. But just to note on that. And in terms of the other items that we have on this look, we have the jewellery pieces with Mother's Day around the corner. We've gone for really simple hoops. These are all from Betty and Biddy, all available nationwide delivery and a huge selection on their site. And the Mama necklace, new to their collection for this Mother's Day and indeed for new mums, so a lovely gift. It's the CZ tennis necklace with the Mama lettering on it. And again, just to add that little bit of sparkle to an otherwise bare neck, and that V does give us that balance. So you've got a wider amount, or you've a wider legs, you've more fabric. So you want to balance that with a little bit of skin. You've got the arms pulled up on the cardi, or you could do a little tuck if you wanted. It just pulls it together nicely. And then the bracelet here is the knot bracelet, which we saw in a second also from Betty and Biddy. These shoes, the tan open toe, very popular coming in towards spring summer. We've seen them a couple of times over the last few weeks even. And these in the block heel from Fabucci Footwear in Naas, and available at fabucci.ie as well.
So a kind of a preppy look here.
Yes, so we've gone for straight in this. Straight are the jean trend you probably hear the most about this year. They are second in sales though to skinny. Skinny still have our top sellers. We'll see them in a minute. We can't overlook them. But these are hugely popular for this season. They work particularly well for spring summer because you do need a little bit of a crop or turn up as we've done here. Again, what I like, no whiskers. They're the uniform shape. There's no bleaching, no rips. It's just elongating, making them really, really smart. And they have lots of stretch in these too. The These are from Carrickdone, available in any of their 42 stores or indeed online, and they are priced at $39.95.
And their accessories now are quite lovely, picking up the little gold
Exactly, just pull the little bits through it, which is important just to give that elevation to denim. Starting with the earrings, these are €18. Again, that simple hoop there for Betty and Biddy, and the mohair necklace. This is available in the bar as well as in a little disc, which we'll see later. So beautiful, pretty much exclusive to Ireland, the mohair necklace. Perfect gift for Mother's Day, and that's priced at €24.
And jacket and the knit as well.
Jacket and knit, exactly, yeah, 69, and the knit is where have I got the knit here? 44. So again, pulling it all together nicely, and the bag as well is also from the store, priced at $29.95, and the shoe is a metallic trainer, so we're always looking for a little bit of bounce, and that's priced at $114.
Absolutely lovely.
Fantastic.
Quite unusual to have a silver shoe there.
Exactly, just a little bit of practicality meets style of fashion.
Bit of Barbie core here with Sarah.
Yeah, have indeed.
Still popular skinny jeans.
Yes, so I couldn't do a fashion segment without skinny jeans.
You could if you wanted to.
I could if I tried, but I find them the most flattering personally, and people say all the time, can I still wear them? Of course you can. If you like something and you feel good in it, absolutely wear it. So these have a little detail at the side with the zip feature on them, kind of made famous by Kate Moss years ago, and still I think we think of her when we see this style, and indeed the zip. These are from Carrickdone, and again priced at €36, and lots of flexibility in it. And we've dressed them up with the rest of this look, starting with the jewellery, the earrings here, the delicate hoops, again sitting different to around the ear, they're kind of in front of the ear, €18, and the silver mohair necklace, which we see is $24. Starting again to add that little bit of smartness to a jean is like the pussy bow blouse, and the coat with it. We've gone for a couple of different tonal shades of pink here, brightening for spring summer, which we always like to see. The blazer is $40, the blouse is $25.60, both from Carrickdone, available online and through their stores. And then the loafer, a pop of colour on the shoe, $145 from Fabucci Footwear, and these are available in a couple of other colours on their website and indeed in their store in Naas as well.
Lovely. Looks like a nice soft leather as well for
exactly, and that's so important. You just don't want to be wearing a lot of plasters as you go. You want to make sure that you've got comfort, and they do tick that box for sure. So we've gone wide leg to finish. Our wide leg again is something people often ask. They're seeing it a lot in store. How do we wear it? What does it suit and work? We need a bit of height with it, which we've added here with the platform shoe. We've gone for the French tuck as well. What I like about this is again it's hemmed slightly with the 2-inch at the bottom to give kind of a finish, so it's almost that cropped, but it sits a little longer, and then really easy to dress up with a heel. If you're tall, loafer works well, etc. Lots of different options for that, in terms of how you put the look together. So really simple. Those trainers, or the shoes rather, sorry, are $209.99 from Fabucci. Our jeans are $44.95 from On Trend. They have a huge selection of denim just launched on their website. And our shirt is, we'll see in a second, but we'll start with the earrings at €18. These are the jagged hoops, again from Betty and Biddy, coordinating with the bracelet, which we'll see in a moment. And our necklace is the mohair gold disc, which you can just see here behind the collar of the shirt. Really simple and easy as we kind of look through the piece. It's just that white shirt and jeans.
It's the classic. It's never going to go out of
Never going to go out of fashion. And this shirt in particular is quite a heavy cotton, it doesn't crease, which I always feel the need to say, because sometimes you'd be steaming clothes, and particularly if you're going out and about for work. So it is a practical option. That's $47.95 again from On Trend. So simple and easy if you are happy to add height, and that's why we like the idea of the wide leg and the straight for spring summer, because you're showing off your ankles to balance the look.
It's all about showing off the ankles. So thank you so much once again, Laura. Now for a list of retailers and the prices for the looks we featured today, check out the Ireland AM Facebook page.
Coming up, we're trading our denim for spacesuits as we head off to the galaxy far, far away in our big TV preview. See you then.
Yes, welcome back. We're off to a galaxy far, far away for our TV picks of the week. And if you can't guess from that where we're starting, it's the iconic Star Wars series, The Mandalorian.
Joining us now with all the latest on Baby Yoda's adventures, our bounty hunter turned TV expert, Killian Mando Sullivan.
I like that. I'm going to take that to the bank. I like it.
It's a good ring to it.
We have done it. We've done it already.
So James, the producer, this is his pride and joy, and perfectly strategically covering baby milk that's on my shirt. But yeah, so this is not Baby Yoda.
Oh.
Not allowed to call him Baby Yoda. It's Grogu.
Right. Grogu.
So apparently they're trying to really hit home the point that this is not Baby Yoda, although Oh,
it sounds
like Baby Yoda. But apparently, even they were doing at Comic-Con, they were doing a press conference, and it was accidentally named as Baby Yoda, and they had to correct themselves and apologise. So yeah, they're trying to not say what it is, but come on, like
come on. Call me infantile Yoda if you
But we're going to be seeing this gorgeous, cute little being on The Mandalorian.
Yes, so that's why he's here. So the new series, The Mandalorian, dropping on Disney. Episodes are already up there. Weekly, going to be dropping. This season for Disney has just been huge for them. Such a huge success. And this, when you think about it, it's all geared around a character that had very little screen time in any of the original Star Wars movies, but made such an impact that they've been able to really milk this and make it something great. And in this season, Jon Favreau, he was kind of misquoted, and he did say they're designing this to kind of run forever.
Yeah.
And people were like, what do you mean by that? He said, it's kind of in the same way they used to make Star Trek, say, back in the day, where each episode was a standalone episode, where there's guest characters will come in, guest appearances.
Yeah.
So there is going to be, each series will have an overarching story arc from the start of the episode, the 8th episode. But in amongst that, it's going to be individual episodic stories told with different perspectives. And it's going to be an opportunity to see all of these special guests. Over the years, we've had, like, Bill Burr has been on. He was great in his episode. But in this season, Christopher Lloyd, who you'll know as Doc Brown from Back to the Future, he's making a guest appearance in one of the episodes as well. So this is going to be great because it adds a whole other facet to this of, like, each season then they can announce who the guest stars are. And it's Disney, so they have the money to get the guest stars in. So I'm waiting for the Martin King episode. That, for me...
that's the last one.
That's the,
that's the last one of the series. That's going to be the hook for the next series.
It's the finale. Is it true, though, that they wanted to make Grogu CGI instead of actually...
So originally in the first season, the plan was, because CGI has gotten so good nowadays, and a lot of this show is filmed in a thing called The Void, which is all LED screens, and it's fascinating how they make the show now. And they were going to do Grogu CGI, but then one of the producers, directors in the first series was like, don't. Here's an opportunity to, hark back to the original Star Wars, where they actually made characters, they made physical aliens. So the Winston Company, who are behind basically all of the big puppets in Hollywood, they designed and developed little Grogu, and I think the series is better off as a result. You can see the movement is not as fluid as if it was CGI, but I think that adds to it as well. And there's something about the fact that this character is actually really on screen and not CG'd in that I think people have been quite drawn towards and really love the little guy.
Yeah. He's also reminded me of Gizmo, though, from Gremlins. Does it the ear?
There is Gizmo vibes. You better not feed him after midnight.
Do not do that. And keep him away from water.
So where can we watch this? It's on Disney Plus. Out now.
Out now. First episodes of the season are out now, and then every week they're going to be dropping episodes.
Okay. We like this. We certainly do. Right. We had kittens in earlier. But the next one is going to be all about dogs.
This is like, I was trying to explain this to somebody earlier on. It's like Glastonbury, but for dogs. Because it's happening over the course of a weekend. The way BBC kind of do this big Glastonbury, live broadcast, that's what Channel 4 are doing for Crufts. And there are so many different, it's not just best in show, it's not just finding the best dog that can stand the best way or sit the best way. There's all of these different activities. And this year in particular, there's going to be interesting challenges for accessibility dogs. So these are dogs who help people with everything from obviously hard of sight. But there was one story I was reading up on, and there was this girl who has her dog, and the girl suffers, she's got autism, but she's also got low blood sugar levels, and the dog is trained to alert her to her low blood sugar levels. How that happens, I don't know, but this dog is helping her through life. So she then, a couple of years ago, just started doing these, at the weekend you can do you'll see them in parks, and the dog loves it. So she is now one of the competitors in this, and it's great. And there's also a little bit of an Irish connection in the judges. One of the girls in the makeup room here was telling me that her, I suppose you'd call adopted cousin, it was a Japanese student, came over to her family 30 odd years ago and never left, and ended up staying with her great auntie, and they got into the dog world, and she's now one of the judges at Crufts. She spends her life travelling the world judging, and she's one of the judges. So based out of Longford, originally from Japan, but she's going to be there judging this weekend as well.
20,000 dogs, it's huge.
It's huge. It is. It really is. For the dog world, this is the big deal. This really is. So look, even if you just dip in and dip out, there'll be great coverage over the weekend with Claire Balding. She's hosting, and tune in. Sunday night, you're going to see The Pinnacle. That's the big one, the best in show. We'll find out who is the best dog in town.
OK, all right. And there's a lot of Irish dogs in there. The Italians are always the best represented. But yeah, we can watch it all as it happens. Great new doc on Virgin Media.
Yes.
Stories from the street.
So Luke McManus is the director behind this, a 3-part series. And this, above all anything else, this was designed to put a face to the statistics.
Yes.
We're always hearing of these figures. 11,750 people are currently living in emergency accommodation or homeless at the moment. And you think, oh, God, that's awful. And then you kind of go on with your day.
Kind of personifies
it
humanises
it. It humanises it more so. And in this series, it's narrated by Gemma Dunleavy, who's great. I think she's really, really good. The perfect choice for this, because this is following homeless people in and around the capital. And you hear these stories of people like Keane, one of the guys. He's a full-time builder. Yeah. Holding down a job, sleeping in a doorway in order to survive. And there's another couple who are trying to hold out hope to get some couples accommodation, because whatever about getting one bed somewhere, to get a couple is even harder, and you don't want to split up a relationship. And there's like so many real human stories here. And I think a 3-part documentary like this, it really does a good job of humanising what is a pretty serious problem that we're having, not just in the city, all across the country. But it's great to see that someone like Luke puts together a show or a documentary that looks as good as this and is put together as well as this.
And earlier on in the week we had guests, the siblings who lost their brother who was on the streets, and he's part of this documentary. And it's just incredible to see the stories of people that work and they're still, failed by the system.
It is difficult. It's not just one of these things of like where people can sort of socially remove themselves from like, oh, it must be awful for them. But when actually you realise that these are real people with families, and oftentimes you've got people who are homeless on the streets and they do have families, but the families aren't even aware of the fact that they're living on the street because maybe pride or a number of reasons that's keeping them from actually going back and getting that help from their own home. So yeah, I think a series like this, it could be this, helping to change the narrative a little bit and just open the discussion.
So the 3rd episode, this on Monday, 9 p.m.
Yeah, and of course you can watch these back on the Virgin Media Player as well.
Of course. Karen Priory. Now, we all love detective programmes, and this is a new one.
Again, from the producers, from the production company behind Line of Duty, so you can see aesthetically, it looks great. It's like this, it's that kind of BBC, ITV drama. It looks really well. And yeah, this is about a relatively young police officer who gets this promotion, and she has an opportunity to open cold cases. And there's one cold case she opens from the mid-90s of a barmaid who was murdered. And in her investigating, she discovers flaws in the original investigation, and that, of course, will start to lead to new leads. And then from that, we discover everything we discover, and I'm trying to be as spoiler light as I possibly can. But this is great. And I mean, look, I know that the protagonist in this show, the lead character, she looks quite young, but the reality is, like, this is the age of, she's like 29 or something in the show. Like, this is the age of people who are doing this work in the police force. The consulting police officers who stand over shows like this were saying, yeah, this is not something really that, like, it doesn't have to be the old, almost retired police detective who does these cases. It can be these young hotshots too.
It's fresh and cool to see, and that is on Virgin Media 1. Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Friday at 9 p.m. Well, thank you very much, Killian.
That's the telly sorted for the week. Now it's over to Elaine. What have we got coming up tomorrow?
Well, coming up tomorrow, we'll be catching up with musician and mental health advocate Brezzy as he takes his hugely successful podcast to the stage. We'll be hearing from author Anita Bagwandas, whose new book questions and challenges the modern beauty standards that are ingrained in our society.
Plus, from Liverpool's clash with Manchester United to the Allianz Football League, we'll be reliving an action-packed weekend of sport.
Tommy, Miriam and Alan are back tomorrow from 7.
Okay. Now, I have to say, we've got loads of text messages about social media regulations, but we've got one as well about astronomy. Damien has sent us in a picture. He says, I took this last Thursday in Portlaoise. It's the moon sitting between Jupiter and Venus. A lovely sight, wait for it, which won't be seen again for another 2.5 million years. Isn't that
no, when it happens, we'll get Dave Moore in again to chat about it.
Well, I don't think any of us will be around that time. And in relation to social media, Sharon says most parents aren't aware they can also enable parental controls on their Wi-Fi routers at home. It's a great way to regulate social media.
Anne-Marie says, tried TikTok myself and was shocked at how easily it can become addictive. I agree. The temptation to keep scrolling surely must be harmful for kids if not regulated.
Like we said, 25.7 hours per month is the average spent on TikTok. It's crazy. It is crazy.
Right, we'll see you.
That's it. They're off to get pizza.
See you next week.
Take care. Bye-bye.